정말 열심히 준비해서 좋은 경기력으로 찾아뵙고 다시 비상해 보겠습니다. 감사합니다.
나머지 경기들이 저희한테 되게 중요하잖아요. 순위 변동도 있고 그래서 일단은 죽기 살기로 더 열심히 준비해서 꼭 좋은 모습 보이도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back, guys. We're here at SPO TV for some more LCK 2018 summer action. I'm Valdez. With me is Papa Smithy. As always, we're going to get into a bit of a fun one today. Not the tippy-top teams of LCK, but rather Jin Air versus MVP fighting to avoid that relegation today.
And that's what it's all about. Not everyone has the luxury of playing for those matches at the top, the playoffs. Sometimes a bit difficult to get to, and Jin Air, being the only team to lose to BBQ, have their own relegation worries to work with. MVP for now, they've got that little gap, the breathing room of 2 series above Jin Air, 3 series above BBQ. But you play your matches thick and fast, and before you know it, it's possible to slip down.
It definitely is. I mean, this is what makes tonight such an important match for both of these two teams. Obviously, Jin Air wants to escape the relegation. MVP, they still have a chance to catch up to SKT, especially after yesterday where SKT did go down to KT in a wild and wacky series that a lot of people said that SKT should have won. Was an important one for them to win because I actually felt the hype, right? I was getting excited for SKT.
Oh, excited for what?
For SKT.
Really?
Yeah. After they won game 1 and they were dominating game 2, I was like, well, they're going to come back and they're going to win and they're going to go on a winning streak for the first time this season, and then they lost. But,
so it was you. You got excited.
It was me. I was definitely really excited for game number 2 specifically. I'm like, wow, SKT, they're really back. This is hype, right? You know, everything's right in the world, but I was wrong.
You were. And Jin Air, I thought they were back in one term of the word at least. They finally picked up that first win against BBQ. They beat Kingzone. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, crashing down to earth already. They lost to BBQ. They were in control of that series, went on to lose it. Now, MVP were able to dispatch them very easily. The first time these two teams faced, will it be competitive? Will it be 3 games? Will it be a stomping? We have no idea.
Yeah, we really don't. Expecting MVP to come into this one and actually win. Jin Air, they are kind of all over the place. We'll see what they can do, but I'm more so on the Pilot hype train.
Ooh.
We were all happy to watch MVP versus SKT, where Pilot was popping off and essentially carrying his team to that victory.
I think the featured matchup is pretty obvious, right? Pilot versus Teddy is going to be a hype matchup. If both of them are marksmen, could see a lot of fun going on there, but I think we're ready to get this all rolling.
Now let's go ahead and introduce our first team over here on the left. Starting on the blue side, it will be the Jin Air GreenWings getting together for a little kumbaya before the game starts. I like the idea. When you're down in the dumps, you got to do something. You got to change something up, and perhaps starting off with some good morale before you get to the game is the way to do it.
I appreciate it too. They're going to have their little moment here. Reminds me of other esports tournaments in Korea. They're just getting in there and they're having the TED Talk, and they have to get in there and have this chat because we're getting to must-win territory to get away from the relegation spots, and it's against a team where if MVP win, they're 3 matches behind MVP in that relegation reckoning.
Yeah, and it's MVP attempting to overtake SKT in terms of the standings, so we'll see if they can do that. But go ahead and, well, you guys already saw them in the booth. It's going to be your normal lineup here for the Jin Air GreenWings. No Cacao coming in. Justice still not going to show his face for quite a long time here, and everybody else that you're used to seeing in the Jin Air lineup.
Cal still around the studio, but not going to be playing, at least for game number 1. A pretty extended time in the team. Recently been looking good on the Kindred, but of course, could suffer a loss on Kindred in that final game against BBQ. They really want to get away from the promotion relegations and be a good step towards that if they could win today.
Yeah, I mean, they have other matchups after tonight, but if they can't defeat MVP, what does that mean? Do they have to defeat more teams like Kingzone? Are they just going to go ahead and roll over Hanwha Life or Griffin? It doesn't really work that way. So this is why tonight is such an important match for the Jin GreenWings. Coming over to MVP now, they're in a bit less of a dire situation, sitting at 4-7 currently. We are going to see if they're going to be playing Motive or Maha. The answer is no. They want to win tonight. They want to move up the rankings. They still have a shot at least the middle of the pack right now.
They win here, they jump above SK Telecom and find themselves comfortably in 7th spot. Seems like top 5 is going to be too much of an ask. Right now I'm getting the feeling that 9 match wins is kind of where you need to be if you want to even be in contention for top 5. And sitting at 4 with about 7 series to go, seems unlikely that MVP will be able to make that climb, but also avoiding relegations will be a good story for them as well.
Yeah. It will be a problem if we lose more. SpoTV always likes to put things simply, it's a problem for any team if they lose more, but specifically MVP, they do not want to get into relegations. As we continue to talk about, I feel like this team overall, see the actual shaved head of Yondu there. You can't see it on this one, but on Yondu's picture it was kind of funny. But this team, I feel like they've slowly improved, but the rest of LCK has improved alongside of them and a little bit faster, which is why they're sitting here at 8th place, even though, in my opinion, I feel like they look like a better MVP compared to last season.
If you look at MVP versus Jin historically, MVP, we know in the first round robin, easily dispatched Jin, but has been Jin picking up more of the wins in the spring season and in 2018 in general. I think this will be more competitive. MVP really rolled over Jin in the first round robin. ADD was popping off before he went through. Unfortunately, another drop in performance, but in the past, MVP focus. So let's see if we get a competitive one or not today. Could be fun at least. I'm hoping for some new picks. Let's get the meta to keep rolling.
Yeah.
I see these teams debuting some fun stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, you know. We'll see what these two teams want to do. I think MVP is definitely one of the teams that is more likely to throw in some weird stuff. You look at Max, he has so many different champions that he's played only one time. He's definitely not a support that sticks to only one champion. And even the rest of them, you know, Yondu experimenting a little bit, eventually landing on Sejuani and Trundle. But we'll have to wait and see. ADD also won to go against the meta. Let's look at the Jin GreenWings, though. We do know how to fight now. Interesting. And I guess that's because over the last couple of games, they have improved in terms of their stats.
They've also thrown some more resources into Teddy, and we've seen Teddy frontlining on a lot of different champions. The Ryze, the Jin, trying to get them wins in the team fight phase. Jin, the game's slowing down a bit. Feels like the meta is a bit slower. Theoretically, get enough items onto Teddy, and he should perform. He is a bit of royalty on a Jin lineup that has been very, very short of that this season. MVP, they love their fighting. They love their objectives. They're a very honest team. You know what you're going to get from MVP. They've actually improved in areas where traditionally they've been poor. I think their Baron control is much better than before. Yeah. The big problem is, even if their early game is good, their early to mid-game to late-game transitions are usually a bit slow, a bit sloppy, and they can't close out good passages of play. Because I feel like most games with MVP, there's a passage of play. You sit back and say, wow, that's actually pretty well played. But capitalizing on it, that's still a bridge too far for MVP.
Yeah, sometimes their team fighting, their mechanics in the lane are not so bad, right? They're good at that, but their macro, they still need to improve upon their transitions into ending games and closing out leads, which is some things that even top teams have trouble with. But MVP, definitely one of the culprits of that as well. Let's take a look at the highlighted matchup here. Teddy versus Pilot, no surprise at all. Teddy has been the funnel stratting guy on the Jin GreenWings, no surprise there. Pilot playing more standard, but also carrying his team big time.
A lot of nice numbers on the side, and often if your team's winning more, you'll have higher numbers, but it's not like his team is winning dramatically more than the side of Jin Pilot been very good in summer. Teddy's been trying to reinvent himself a little bit. There's been Swain, there's been Ryze, there's been Vladimir. Some of it's looked good, some of it hasn't. Pilot's been a bit more inflexible. It's not quite ruler, but he has been favoring the marksman to a pretty significant degree. I wonder what we'll see today. Could be weird and wonderful. It could be old meta. It could be new. Some fans here for Jin Air's side. I imagine there's some parents, Valdez.
Yeah, looks like Nova. Nova's parents, perhaps. Maybe Nova's mom on the right. Not sure about the left, but we get the camera shot of Nova, so you can only imagine that it's his parents that came down today.
And Nova says, great, more pressure.
Yeah.
He has to perform in front of his parents. He's looked great on the Rakan and some of the other engaged supports. Actually, Tom Kent's been working recently. It sounds like we're ready to launch to game number 1.
Let's jump into pick and ban right away. Hopping now, Jin Air on the blue side, as we mentioned before. Will we see any mix-up in the bans? It was interesting to see the Swain ban on the red side. I think that was from KT. Correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely trying to mix things up a bit at least. And MVP, listening to me, they say no Swain anymore.
I feel like Swain is going to be respected more and more, even in our second series. There's a lot of teams that have 2 good Swain players, and that's when you really start to feel frustrated. But I like teams starting to experiment on red side. We've had these established 3-ban patterns for a long time, and then one team will say, how about we ban this instead? And the enemy team on blue side has to interact, and some interesting scenarios have come up where teams just haven't been scrimming certain picks and have to ban them on blue. But now at least, Jin Air is saying, hey, we want Taliyah or Nocturne. They opt into it, and there's going to be a lot available. Do MVP just ban neither and take one?
Might be a good idea, although if you look at the stats so far for MT, he has played 4 games in Nocturne, none of Taliyah, but that's probably just because Taliyah gets banned more often. Anivia gets banned, and Papa, you predicted it, it makes sense. Which one will Jin Air choose?
And of course, MVP at 3-0 on the Galio, and Grace likes it in that matchup, so they're going to say Nocturne first pick. Nocturne Galio is very reliable as a duo, and that's probably why it's denied away, but I think it's going to be Taliyah for sure on the red side. Will they contest the Shen to deny Nocturne Shen? Not often available ever since Griffin showed it was one of the core strategies in the early weeks of the season. So already some power picks already, some spicy League of Legends action.
Yeah, we got something new here. Definitely cool to look forward to. Gragas moving up the tier list. They're going to hover that one, and we'll take it away. It's good. You know, the Nocturne comes in, you can try to stun him, maybe cast him away, get that spell shield off of him real quick, or even go for the engage and set up the Taliyah if you're on the front foot.
Apparently it's Grace Day today. Kind of reminds me of my Christian school upbringing when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
But Nocturne Shen available does mean that Nova won't be on a lane dominant support pick, but it is an engaged champion. Suddenly Umti looking like he could potentially be one of the people empowered by this draft, and the Vladimir return for Teddy did play it in that last loss. You would imagine it will be him. Grace has a victory on the mid lane Vladimir in the past, but Teddy was able to find the flanks, but the team wasn't really playing around his flanks, and his item timings weren't there either. So I felt like Jin Air had a lot of work to do when it came to the Vladimir, but so far it's very clear what their 3 picks together are going to contribute in the fight.
Yeah, 0 and 4 so far for Teddy. So we'll see if they do mix that up, try to throw it into the mid lane, or maybe just give him another chance. The Zoe falling all the way down to 3rd pick on the red side. And MVP is like, thank you very much. We can take the Zoe, ban away the Galio. They might even go for some kind of first pick here. There's a lot left over. You think about the Mundo you can snatch away, but they might want to try to ban away something if they want to pick that up.
And remember, they're also double flexing on their side. It's probably just going to be Taliyah jungle, but with the Zoe there, we start to get a bit confused, right? Because they do have 2 champions that go into the jungle. We've seen the Zoe drop into bot lane. Ian went 7-0-4 in their game 1 victory over Jin Air last time these 2 teams faced, so very likely he'll be returning. But there still is that flex going on for the side of MVP. Wonder what they do here. I think maybe Pilot's pick would be considered here. Just the 80 carry pickup. Lucian and Ezreal banned away. Varus would be a powerful choice, but into Nocturne Shen Vladimir, you are asking to be assassinated in a team fight.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider here in terms of that. They are thinking about the Kaisa. Okay.
I would have thought maybe a Xayah to be able to lift off when
Yeah.
the engage comes in. Instead, they're just going to take Kai'Sa and say, hey, this is pretty powerful, and they'd be right on that, but not many teams have been able to get through laning phase on the Kai'Sa. The last one in memory in the last 5 weeks has been Deft, who had a single game on the Kai'Sa, so very risky choice by the side of MVP. On the blue side, waiting for Jin Air to round out their draft. They don't know for sure what they're facing the top side, but Resolve Tree Gangplank with the Grasp can lane against most difficult laners, so So1 feeling confident enough to pick up that one.
They already have a nice amount of engage with the Nocturne Shen combination. Having the GP to run in and throw in some barrels is cool too. Fizz being hovered.
Be Grace's first time on this pick. Kuro, of course, showed it already.
Ooh, okay.
They're going to go to a little bit more conventional, pick up the Talon. Not 100% clear if this will be Smite Talon or not right now, hovering over Cleanse. Well, they have multiple damage types, so they can get away with the Talon. So bot lane for Teddy once again on the Vladimir. Again, it can be the Gragas support like we mentioned. The Mundo matchup into the GP ends up being free farm and does allow the GP to go Klepto. If you look at the enemy team, I don't feel like you're getting huge value out of the Mundo in terms of what it will contribute in terms of a fight. Mundo running at Zoe, we love that one. Mundo running against a lot of bruisers that do damage and very strong dive. Seems like he's mostly going to be contending with the Gangplank in the back of a fight. But it will be ADD going on to a tank. Currently 0-4 on the Mundo, so it doesn't inspire too much confidence.
Yeah, we've seen Mundo in compositions like this against compositions like Jin Air's, and it's kind of like a Mundo without its head, just running around saying, who can I hit? You know, everybody on my team has already died. Can I try to 1v3? And sometimes it works out. You know, sometimes he gets them to back off. He maybe kills a low health member, but I definitely agree that sometimes he looks like a little bit useful in some of these team fights.
And my query is, you've got Kai'Sa. Wouldn't you like some extra plasmas to be applied by your top laner? The slow from the Mundo cleaver isn't going to do that. So
Yeah.
it's a bit peculiar of a choice. No hard CC from Mundo, so no synergy with the Kai'Sa. Usually you want to go for something that at least has backline threat. I actually wouldn't have hated a Cho'Gath in this scenario. They have Gragas, Taliyah, Zoe. They have different ways to engage. I think Cho'Gath would have been a pretty solid pick that ADD has shown plenty on in the past. They go for the Mundo. Color me skeptical for MVP's 5-man draft.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's kind of what we wanted, I suppose, coming into a draft like this. This might be even the first time we've seen Taliyah versus Nocturne. The two of them just banned so often here in the LCK. Generally, both of them are banned together on the red side, but the two of them pushed forward by MVP's Anivia, bound third on the red side, saying they wanted a piece of that. Means that we don't get a Kindred. Some other jungle picks fall through. No Trundle here. And the Zoe falling very low in the draft as well. But either way, guys, the game is ready to go. So game number 1, MVP versus Jin Air right now. The MVP fans, guys, they came. Doesn't matter who they're facing, when they're playing, the MVP fans will always be here.
Just like your papa will always be here as well. Spo TV fans, we're watching here. Again, the fun part about this game is a lot open. In different regions, a lot of these champions are first pickable. So overall, there's a lot of power on the draft. Gotta say, Jin Air, when they hit 6, basically just run at Kai'Sa, everyone presses their buttons, and there's going to be a whole lot of pandemonium around the bot lane. That is definitely what Pilot has to contend for. He late-picked this Kai'Sa into quite a lot of threat already, and I do not envy his scenario in the team fights.
The runes looking very coordinated on the side of Jin Air. They're a green team, but everybody's taking the blue and purple sorcery tree. Lots of Nimbus cloaks on the side. The Nocturne, the Talon, and the Vlad all picking that one up.
Resolve Tree actually picked up by Pilot second on the Kai'Sa. At least that's showing some semblance of respect.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the item build for the Kai'Sa against Vladimir. As we see, it's a little bit of trading happening. Max getting itchy trigger finger, wants to practice his body slams.
Yeah.
Usually against Vladimir, you see some level of respect. a early Vamp Scepter, a Blade the Ruin King. Probably not going to see that from Pilot. So Lifesteal could just go for a Vamp Scepter, but will delay something like the Rage Blade, which you desperately need. Can't go Sheen like an Ezreal to fit that in. We saw Corrupting Potion actually from Def to try to get through a Vladimir lane yesterday. Today, it's just going to be the Doran Shield, so I imagine Pilot's going to have to play very defensively in this lane, and is that enough to answer? Nocturne. Oh. Well, Grace didn't even need Smite to pull that one off. That's a good feel.
Didn't want to interrupt you, but that was just... That's a really bad feeling as a jungler. You steal away all that XP and gold that early on with just your Rake as the Talon. Poor little Yondu in the jungle.
That's going to delay Yondu's level 3, so he can't go for the same skirmishing that he usually wants to on the Talia. Actually, a big buff for his jungler, because now Nocturne is less pressured, being in position for counting out his mid.
And apparently you can do stuff like this. Ian ticking down with the bleed and the ignite, and the last auto from one of the range minions was following him down the lane. He nearly dies, but that's going to be a good start for Grace.
Talonblade's been buffed over time. Ignite also has been buffed over time, so you're never 100% clear. That one was always likely to fall short. He has no potions, so it's going to be just a bit of wave clear and a back. Summon is used on both sides, but Grace does hold onto his Ignite for a future all-in. I guess we shouldn't be too surprised either, Valdez, because consider the first item choice by Grace. He started Longsword, and that usually means let's just go big or go home and buy a serrated Dirk on the first back.
Look at the pathing here from Umti, trying to come down for an unexpected gank without red buff. They're trying to get onto Pilot. There's the flash taunt, and we'll see if he can get out of this one. He's holding on to his flash, not even going to do it. Knows he's dead. First blood. Going to go over to Teddy to start off this game.
Really good start from Nova, and now they don't even need to use anything. They don't even have to wait for pre-6 either. They're able to get something happening before ultimates are available. Yondu roaming on the top side doesn't hit the Scrying Orb because he wants to be unspotted. Sad news for him. He is definitely spotted.
Uses a lot of time also to try to go in, put down a deep board, see if he can get any camps because, you know, the path was weird. They thought maybe, okay, he left over the Wolves or something, but actually everything was taken. So Yondu just going back to his Krugs.
Really wondering about this Kai'Sa draft. We had skepticism in the pick and ban because we thought post-6 it was going to be an untenable lane. This is a lot earlier. Smart from Umti. Notice he never uses his Duskbringer because Pilot would have just flashed it. There's potential. There's a getaway. Umti says, well, if I never use my Q, I might get to hold on to my flash, and he does. So feels really good about that. They pick up the kill, and I imagine that'll be the first of many visits to the bot lane by Jinner.
At least Pilot was able to hold on to his flash, you know, just says, okay, I'm dead, you got me, nothing I can do. So he will be a lot safer the next time that the Nocturne comes along, although you were mentioning that that could be level 6, that could be, you know, diving underneath the turret, maybe then the flash won't matter. We'll have to wait and see. Grace.
Jinner have one of the biggest pack up and gank bottom comps ever. GP ultimate, remember, will be global. The Nocturne can get their Talon jumps over the walls. To draft this particular bot lane carry in terms of the Kai'Sa, a champion we have not seen outside of one deft game in the bot lane for a very long time, is bold. You might say, well, Nocturne doesn't do much pre-6, I'll get some time. That time is already a bit of borrowed time for Pilot, and he's relying on inaction from Jinner in the mid-game with the Nocturne Shen duo, one of the most proactive and reliable proactive drafts available in the current meta.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a draft where even a lower level team will be like, well, I mean, it's obvious what we have to do with this one. It's kind of hard to mess up unless our dives go wrong, right? But already on the right track here, going for the early gank down in the bottom side. MT also sneaking away the Gromp away from Yondu, so getting a small lead in the jungle. In addition to that assist he picked up in the bottom side, means he should hit level 6 earlier than normal, and we might see that Nocturne get a really nice early gank off.
And maybe we'll see Teddy on the Vladimir have a better game. Tried the Predator Vladimir last time. Notice he's gone Electrocute for, I can't believe you drafted Kai'Sa, I want to win lane harder, is the decision there. Saw FLICKR try something similar yesterday and get hard camped by Score. Not seeing that from Yondu, who's been a bit of a passenger this game. Nocturne could sap some experience for 6, but obviously will be revealing himself topside, so not ideal. We back away. Caulfield's Warhammer is there. And actually Sowan building for lane very early with an Executioner's calling on this GP.
You know what might be a really nice gank for the Nocturne is, well, there's the Electrocute down on the bottom side. Might be the mid lane. You know, that flash is about to come up here for Ian. If they could get in there right after the red and maybe seconds before the flash gets up, that would be nice, as Talon has hit level 7. We'll see where he does want to go.
I mean, personally, I just think bot lane, because you have such a strong comp to gank bot lane, and even with Pilot's flash up, a GPO and Ignite from Nova in, you just die to latent damage.
You're just dead.
You can't be tanky in the early game as this Kai'Sa, even if you go Resolve Tree. We don't have the new secret tank 80 carries that we will in 8.14, where Twitch gets 50 health and has more health than a lot of melee bruisers at level 1. We're going to see some Twitch Jinx next patch, and I'm excited for some Twitch. He's definitely one of my favorite out-of-meta 80 carries.
MT was hanging around the mid lane here. Unfortunately, Grace losing this trade big time. The Ignite comes in, has to hop over the turret. And he will survive in a very similar way that Ian did survive. But, well, that's going to take away any opportunity to go for a gank in the mid lane now.
See if Yondu can make a proactive move. He's played the Taliyah before. Wasn't the most impressive Taliyah game ever, but they did win that one. We'll see if he can actually make a proactive use. Hasn't been able to skirmish, honestly. Kind of tail between his legs ever since he lost the Scuttle Crab earlier in the game. All right, Mundo.
Yeah. They pop his ult. You know, that might mean something. Maybe they'll try to return up to the top side, but Mundo generally going to be tanky. That level 1 ult's not going to be the greatest anyway. Sometimes it's better not to use it, but...
I mean, information about the Nocturne was the big thing he was looking for there.
Yeah.
They don't have a Ashe on the side of MVP. When teams have left open Nocturne, they've been liking Ashe just to hawk shot and get as much information about which side of the jungle the Nocturne is on, and they don't have that. So ADD kind of had to make that move and didn't have to flash. So, like you mentioned, level 1 ult being down, not a big deal. Grace has been trying to brawl a lot today. I must admire his perseverance. Remember last time out, he was on the Yasuo in perhaps the most sad Yasuo game we've had in a very long time. So for him to jump onto Ignite Talon and say, let's give it another go, at least shows a good head on his shoulders for this series.
Yeah. Could have been his coach too, just like, you are going to play Talon. This is your job. This is what you must do. They were hovering the Fizz too, so they were definitely looking to go aggressive, especially after the Galio ban against the Zoe. We might have a fight down here at the Ocean Drake if MVP wants to take it. Trying to poke forward with the Zoe. And after that comes down. Oh, we got a little update here.
No, don't
Windows
update now.
Trying to take over the cast.
We need an LCK update. Oh, okay, we're fine. Whew.
Oh, that was a bit scary.
Oh, Windows can be just so fearsome. We just got ganked by Windows. To be fair, the Windows update and the paranoia, pretty similar if you're on the receiving end.
I know, it's, oh man. Trying to take over the cast is Windows, just looking for some attention. Hasn't been noticed in quite a while. Remember me, I'm your operating system. Looking for the gank over the top side, but he's got stopwatch. We'll see if he does die here. The flash comes in. The fear is still
really
tethered. ADD looking at trying to turn the TP coming in. Then they realized that they were attacking Mundo the whole time and decide against it. And that is just not going to work. That's part of the reason why you see Mundo taking stopwatch.
Let's talk about two things there. There was a lot of anti-synergy between Umti and Sowan because I know Sowan realized there was a chance he went down if he flashed in, but probably shouldn't have encouraged Umti to go in at the same time. So there was a disconnect in terms of that all-in. There might just be a disconnect here in terms of their life.
They have Shen, and now ADD is going to get flashed on again by Nova. See you later. Teddy going to pick up another kill on the Vladimir. And that's what all those globals can do for you.
That's the counter gank of the globals. Wanted to say also that a reminder, they could just be going bot lane with these ganks for the harder to execute two-man gank topside. They just decide to bring some mates up. Here's Teddy. And they're just going to look for this turret in the top lane if they can get it. However, small kind of caveat here, Valdez. It does mean Kai'Sa gets access to the Sword of Farm. We weren't expecting she would get this game.
I mean, there's just literally nobody down there because everybody who's in the top lane, the Talon now is going to have to rotate to handle that bottom side. Now, they're getting a lot of really valuable things in the top side, right? They're going to get that First Blood turret. They will get also the Rift Heralds and Grace should be able to clear this wave. But as I say that, they're looking to dive on here to Grace. That's not going to work out. Actually, might be as the flash comes in, as Yandu will pick up the kill from the jungle.
They had no map control bot side, so Talon shouldn't have been there even in a 1v2. Maybe you throw down a rake and fully disengage, just slow down the tempo of the push, but too greedy, staying around that long, gets punished, as he should be, by the side of MVP. You're right that they pick up a lot top side, but I look at a game like this and I think Pilot could have been on the shortest leash ever by the team comp that Jinair have and just the weakness of Kai'Sa in a 2v2 lane. Instead, Kai'Sa has a Stormrazor, which we'll get to in a moment. Kai'Sa's getting CS that perhaps wouldn't be there if the threat of the Ultimate's bot lane was still there. And that's the worry here for the side of Jinair, is that Kai'Sa's going better than expected.
It definitely gives an out to MVP that you wouldn't normally see them have, right? It's just, you look at the other side, yes, Teddy is 2-0 on the Vladimir, but we've all seen what Kai'Sa can do if she is farmed up. This gives her the opportunity. But let's see what happened in the replay.
This was a play onto So1. Nocturne still top side, the Shen ultimate up. Vladimir teleports as well. Max isn't able to get a interruption on the Vladimir or the Shen because there's a control ward, so smart use of the teleport there comes through from Teddy. Let's talk a little bit about Stormrazor on the Kai'Sa. It's the first time we're seeing that one, Valdez. 75 AD, that's obviously very close to crocking the Q evolve on the Kai'Sa. 30% attack speed, so again, 80 in attack speed, the stats that she's going to be looking for. Does mean a bit of burst on the first auto, but usually we see it on kind of longer range champions than a Kai'Sa. Those are the stats that it provides. Very interesting to see it chosen. It is very powerful after being hotfixed on patch 8.13 as a one-item power spike, but doesn't fit into any of the traditional hats that the Kai'Sa was wearing when it came to the standard builds in the past.
Yeah, definitely looking to mix it up here. Maybe wants to be a little bit more relevant early on in the game. That's part of what that item was originally made for, so I like the idea. Unfortunately, Ian getting a little bit frisky here. They are going to blow his flash in the trade for Nocturne's ultimate. We'll always take that trade. They also get the Rift Herald down here, looking to take the mid turret. It is going to get pretty low. Miss on the trouble bubble means that maybe on this push, they can push this one in. Nice knock up there as the cast comes in too, but Nova just says, hey guys, I'm Shen. I can taunt away. And well, he will just be fine, but that does mean they keep that turret up.
Jinair have a lot of powerful globals, but they use both at the same time against Ian, whose flash is up. If they have the timer there, they should never be using Nocturne ult and GP. But they use both ultimates, and they don't take the mid lane turret. I think if you repeat that play 10 times, they take the turret at least 8. So execution lets them down a bit. Maybe still kind of in awe as to how many power picks they were able to pick up in the pick bag.
Yeah. Like, what do we do with all this power?
Just use it, man, whatever.
I mean, they still have the Shen ultimate. You mentioned both, but there's actually 3. We got a lot going on here on Jinair's side. Going to be the miss on the stun from the big old Gragas. As Teddy says, hey guys, I'm farmed. You can't actually kill me.
Gonna be just fine here. Teddy, of course, has a little bit more business staying under a turret compared to the Talon. Doesn't have stopwatch, but is going to be slippery enough. Nova's walking up, but doesn't look like there's too much assistance coming just yet. And they're just threatening here, and it's a lane ward from Nova is what he wants. Hey, the mid lane turret at the same time. My eyes were widening because of the positioning there of Nova, but it seems like it was just a bit of a bait, so nicely done.
Gray's going to be totally fine here, as he is on the Talon. Can just hop the walls. Teddy.
The solid free 700 damage.
I expected more from you, Teddy.
He doesn't have Predator this game, so I wonder if he's going to be tasked to flank at all. You can say that Jinair have enough engage elsewhere that he doesn't need Predator, and that is the kind of flexibility of the Vladimir pick. Can go Predator, can go Electrocute. We see Unsealed Spellbook once in a while, Phase Rush. So many items and so many keystones work well on the Vladimir that you can engineer your loadout in a way that really sets you up for success. But the Electrocute's mostly for lane, and Kai'Sa has more CS than the Vladimir, which lets you know that lane has gone just fine for the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, she's having a fun time down there. See what she wants to build into next, just having that pickaxe.
Q is evolved now because of the AD values there. Gonna be just fine. It's 100 AD between Stormrazor and the pickaxe.
I always like to keep track of the stopwatches too, because I feel like we've re-entered stopwatch meta. You know, it's not like the original one in spring, but we're back here in the second coming of the stopwatch meta. So many people taking it. The only person that's burned it so far is the Mundo, but 7 other people have it available. So keep that in mind as we move along in this game. We should have especially one fight, 5v5, where possibly, potentially 7 people use a stopwatch.
I'll be inspecting your play-by-play, both incorporating the action of the moment, but also your knowledge of whether their stopwatch is up or not.
I'll count them as we go. It's only not Talon, and
somehow, yeah,
not Kai'Sa and Mundo used his. So started out with 8, but now we're down to 7.
Did we ever have the 10? We definitely had 9 a few times, but 10, I'm not sure we ever got to.
I don't think we did. At least not on a Spokecast, because I feel like I would have remembered that.
I want 10 and all 10 used in one fight. That'd be the dream.
At the same time?
Yes.
Well, you're asking for a lot.
I know. You know.
You are the Papa, after all. That is what you do.
I have very high expectations.
Of your children.
Of the resident Papa, yes. The LCK players are all younger than me, so I guess it works out somehow that they're my children.
It's pretty cute, Trouble Bubble. But now they're actually looking for Ian. Still does not have his flash. Gonna use his picked up ghost. He comes behind him. There is the one stopwatch. Gonna mitigate a ton of that damage. He's able to portal jump over, but it's not enough to get him to safety. The red gonna be picked up here, but Ian might be going down. Or rather, ADD, he is gonna live in the end, as Teddy just says, hey, I'll just push the mid turret as this fight's going on.
Easy to execute team fighting, baby. Don't need to do too much thinking. Get the Talon into the back line. Nocturne's got the targeted ability. GP ult's a bit better this time, and someone has to die. There has to be blood on someone's hands for MVP most fights. But the good news for them is that eventually Kai'Sa can outplay scenarios like that turn on, and Jin Air is very, very squishy. So even though they're set up for success at this point in the game, if they can't keep snowballing objectives, there is the chance they get turned on by the Kai'Sa and friends as the game goes on.
Ian just doesn't have vision in the mid lane, and he's popping forward on portal jump to try to do damage to the red. It just seemed a little bit unnecessary. He was also 10 seconds away from his flash, which was really unfortunate. Nicely timed there by the side of Jin Air to take him down. He's desperately rushing for that Zhonya's. He's going to need that the next time they fight around.
We're going to have 3 Zhonya's very soon. We're going to have all sorts of shenanigans going on in these fights. They're going to be extended Valdez and Zhonya. Stasis, a good way to answer the Nocturne Talon for sure.
Teddy, he didn't get a chance to use a stopwatch, unfortunately. Rip for that one stopwatch, never got a chance to show itself in LCK. Total damage does go over to Ian, but doesn't really matter in the end, because a lot of that was just lane damage towards the Grace. Wasn't actually very effective in terms of picking up kills.
Again, the sleight of hand for Pilot has worked largely for MVP outside the early gank, and closer to items, and that's exactly what they're looking for. He's able to outplay the start of a team fight, open up space. I think Pilot will be cleaning up. Waiting to see what his second item choice will be. Probably the Rage Blade, you would imagine. Always surprised when Rage Blade doesn't come early. Omti and so on walk up, and while they don't want to be diving the Mundo, they will be taking turrets. There's 3 outer turrets down. Jin Air, we know what they have, and they'll be happy that an Infernal Drake will be the next spawn. When it comes to Baron buff, that's a more difficult objective for them to pick up.
Grace kind of playing with fire here, but again, he is Talon. It's part of why I'm questioning why MVP is sending 3 people up to try to gank him, because meanwhile, your bottom turret is disappearing. As it's 4-on-1, it's only ADD. I know he's Mundo, but he can't exactly hold his turret. The wall is going to come down here. Solan will fail to get over there, but the dodge circle comes in, and everybody on the side of MVP is a little bit late to the fight. Seismic Shove also going to miss here. The Cannon Barrage just to zone them away, as Jin Air not ready to take this fight just yet. want to push ADD away. Nice flash forward on the cast, but again, it's the Shannon. There you go. The stopwatch's going to come down, and they finally engage on in. Going to get on top of that Kai'Sa, and down she does go. ADD somehow still alive, as he is the Mundo, but can't say the same about Max. Is going to use his stopwatch, but he goes down.
Talon.
Here's Grace, going to pick up 2 in the back line, and Jinair is making such quick work of MVP tonight, making it look so easy here. 4 for 0 so far. They want that ace with the TP. Kind of an interesting one here. Teddy has that home guard, but he's not going to be diving in. Not going to pick that one up, and 7-1 is the score for Jinair.
4v5, baby. The Talon was only there for cleanup. They didn't even need him to pick up the kills because Teddy's turn was really nice at the start. They were able to take down the Kai'Sa and take down the members of MVP. Giving up this easy-to-execute team comp, not working out for MVP.
Oh boy, just the longest chase, the committal to the wall, the Weaver's wall and everything, and they still couldn't take them out.
And this is, of course, with Zoe starting to walk down now. The wall times out. Only 5 seconds duration after the last round of nerfs means not the 8 seconds of pain. MVP chase in, and to some degree you understand they're trying to get summoners. They're probably not going to get more. Max's flash ult, not fantastic. Teddy able to turn. He basically accidentally kills Pilot because he doesn't actually land Hemoplague onto Pilot. He's just trying to kill Yondu, and he basically pops him anyway. All the members of MVP are taken low, and Talon says, here are some walls, here's some death.
Hello. That's what my solo queue opposition Talon looks like against my team. Just takes him out immediately in one fell swoop. And, well, we're going again. This time on to Mundo again. Will Jinair learn this time? The answer is maybe next time.
There's more to come, Valdez. Don't
maybe
worry.
when Mundo's level 16, we can take him out. The answer is no, guys. You can't take him out. It's not going to happen. Not with the 2 of you, at least. Maybe after a couple of Infernal Drakes. Let's take out one right now.
Easy pick up for the side of Jinair, still MVP, trying to get items. Kind of the issue I see with Pilot's build is Rage Blade is really good on Kai'Sa, as we know, but hard to lane with. Went for the Stormrazor, but Stormrazor Rage Blade doesn't have really any synergy at all. Kai'Sa's the one champion where you don't feel as bad about it, just because at the end of the day, you get so much value out of the double stacking of plasmas that it doesn't really matter when it comes to the Rage Blade, but the 3rd item isn't going to be a huge spike from here, and the 3rd item may never come because Jinair is just pushing forward and are a Baron short of just starting some relentless turret diving and killing people off for MVP.
They look really confident. Definitely feel like they won the draft in this one. And, you know, they gave so much away, right? The Nocturne first pick. The Talia really has done 0 in this game. Couple of walls that awkwardly trapped them in with Jinair instead of actually trapping Jinair in with them. And leading to fights where they just die and don't really get much. The Zoe 3rd pick hasn't really been able to pop off. Didn't have a very good early game. Also died in the enemy jungle. Doesn't really have a comp around her to save her. The Mundo, as we expected from the draft, is kind of just sitting there and surviving and not really helping his team all that much.
It doesn't feel like there's much internal consistency with the draft. We pointed out a couple of reasons for that. The Kai'Sa seemed very risky. The Mundo doesn't have anyone to dive and doesn't apply plasmas for the Kai'Sa to do more damage. Can't peel for the Kai'Sa because Mundo's about dive. And Soak, not so much about peel. There's just a lot of things going on that are a little bit off from the side of MVP, whereas, like we mentioned with Jinair, some of their ults have been pretty bad, but you've got them on every couple of minutes, and you just use them, and they're very reliable most of the time. It is a very easy to execute comp, and it's pretty forgiving, even though their ultimates, in some ways, are quite committal. If I'm a team in the bottom 3 and I can get Nocturne Shen, I'm feeling pretty stoked about life because those 2 together have very one-defined role. There isn't a lot of user error possible when you use both of them together. And so far for Jinair, it's propelled them to a very nice lead in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, you return to the draft, and the Nocturne was first pick on blue side, okay, but then you give away the Shen, and you take Talia Gragas. It's like, Gragas, definitely some pretty high-level mechanics in that one, which we've seen Max have trouble with in this game. Maybe you just go Talia Shen instead, take that away.
And how many times have we seen Gragas power picked without Kindred being involved, without there being a real use for the ultimate? Yes, it is a strong champion. Yes, some teams like FLICKR earlier were liking it in the top lane as a blind pick, but it's been largely compositional in terms of its power, as So1 is feeling very happy to walk up. This is optimistic.
Again, he's level 16, and he's full health. Please don't commit to it this time. Okay.
They did throw the game pretty hard with overcommitting to a split push from So1 in the third game against BBQ, and who knows, maybe there's another chance, Valdez.
Well, here's the Talia. They force the flash in the Stand United. Meanwhile, everybody, MVP, not the first time they've done this. They don't have anybody to stop the top lane push. It's kind of just 5 members chasing a Nocturne when you have a Shen behind him. Not really going to work out, and they'll lose another turret.
Yeah, we won't talk about the macro decision of sending everyone to try to kill the Mundo slowly. Maybe not the way to go when he hits level 16. But again, it's what Jin did against BBQ that threw that third game really hard. Kindred and the So1 on that particular game just rolling to bot lane, and 4 people go down and BBQ get back into game number 3. So here, they want to use their globals where the Mundo is not and just try to kill Kai'Sa or Zoe. Both of them pretty helpless, all things considered.
They have a lot of dive. Another champion that's not fantastic against that is the Talia. If you play enough Talia, it's like, well, I missed my seismic shove, I guess I die. They avoid my rocks on the ground, I guess I'm dead. I can try to kite with my Q if I'm in the back line. That's why you have to have really good positioning against compositions like this, but if you get dove upon and you're not ready and you don't have enough peel, we talked about the Mundo, the Gragas is going to be the one guy that's going to be helping her with that. You might be in a bit of a sticky situation against Jin-Air's composition.
And look, the pickle is that Yondu and Ian have had to go Zhonya's, which is of course a bit of a drop in terms of damage output. And it's only a Zhonya's and Runic Echo coming through from Yondu. So they're already down in gold, 8,000, and they have suboptimal purchases for damage. So at some point, they should really start popping.
That's not what we meant by popping.
No.
No, don't do that.
But that's an ultimate down. Max's threat now is basically 0. Support Gragas is the sum of his cask and nothing else.
Yeah. Effort definitely looked a lot better on this pick. Shout out to Effort.
And again, let us just say one thing for Jin-Air. It's not that easy to close games. When you don't have true Baron threat, they can kill the Baron, but it would require a lot of time and potentially trade tanking of DPSs. Their split push into Mundo is trickier. So yes, the game does get a bit more complicated right now, but they have a lot of different options about putting down wards and turning from the Baron. Talon can jump over, Shen and Nocturne need no introduction, and I believe in Teddy getting the flank.
Gonna miss the Q. He forces the flash because of the seismic shove. There would have been a nice amount of follow-up at least afterwards, but
I think Jin-Air just getting excited about the Infernal. They just say, whatever, let's get the Infernal. They'll give up a lot of control to do it, but it should be a freebie to the side of Jin-Air Green.
we'll see if MVP actually considers coming in here. The Nocturne ultimate going to be blown as there's Talia, has to flash and use the Zhonya's, but look at the Pilot in the background, just leasing onto him instead. He's like, okay, the Talia Zhonya's, I guess I'll just go for the Kai'Sa, why not? In the end, Talia dies after her Zhonya's. And, well, here's Mundo. ADD says, I'm really strong, maybe we can fight with me. Well, no, the Hemoplague is going to kill you both. As Max goes down, Ian nearly gets baited in by his team, but that's going to be 3 kills, and maybe now's the time for Baron.
Not convinced MVP know their power level or the enemy power level because they re-engage into the team fight. It doesn't matter how much health ADD has, everyone else is going to die to the damage that is on the side of Jin-Air. Questionable, and Pilot says, screw you guys, I'm taking an Infernal.
It's not the first time Pilot has said,
Teddy
screw
doesn't
you
want
guys.
that at all, though.
Yeah, Pilot might be in a little bit of trouble here. The Hemoplague not available, but trying to go for the steal, not going to happen. The flash on in means that Pilot is probably going to go down here. The electrocute into the E. Tides of Blood says, see you later. And down goes Pilot.
Well, he died for the Infernal, which may be worth it, all things considered. His team was already dead. It's not going to stop the push here at all from the side of Jin-Air. He got an Infernal, so look, they got a kill, an Infernal, and a turret now. Good news for the side of MVP. Unfortunately, they're still going to get a big L because it's very hard for Jin Air not to win this game.
A really big L, a gigantic one, definitely.
We're going to watch the replay. They were going to disengage here, but they decide to dive in because someone has to die. That is the cost. The blood has to be on someone's hands. It's on to Yondu. Remember, Umti's out of the fight, but it is still 4 damage deals by Jin Air. You can give it up. They don't, and they lose an inhibitor turret.
I just love the flash right next to Pilot. He's like, don't take me, take Pilot instead. I don't want to die. And then he Zhonya's anyway, and I wanted to mention it, but Zhonya's against this composition isn't even, you know, it's what you need to build, but it's not even fantastic. It sets you up to take a barrel to the face, just like that one.
Nice armor, bro.
Yeah.
Still plenty of burst onto the very squishy Talon. Jin Air can still press all their buttons and get some kills, but showing some restraint for now.
Well, we'll see. They might just rotate up to the top lane. At this point, level 18 Talon and GP. But they picked up a lot of gold. They got the kills, they got the Baron, the turrets, so why not go back and buy some more cool items?
I can't argue with it. Why not bling out? Just get some cool items, show them to your enemy team, show them their death, and close the game is what we're expecting from Jin Air. Gold lead is now comical, around 13,000 gold. ADD, still on the phone, trying to work out what happened in this draft. I would say he definitely holds some blame. The Mundo was ill-conceived when it was picked up.
Yeah, it kind of just felt like they were like, oh my god,
Mundo's up.
Mundo made it all the way through. It must be because of the weird bans. And I mean, I suppose so, but at the end of the day, it was not the right pick, no matter how strong Mundo is.
Well, it is the bottom of the table with this first series, guys, so sorry about some of the macro. Jin Air just picked a comp that doesn't need macro, so I can respect that. They tried to kill the Mundo a few times. Remember, they could kill other people.
Yeah. You know, they know where their strengths lie.
Killing.
Yeah. If we can just press a couple of buttons, maybe we will win the game. And unfortunately, MVP kind of let them in terms of the draft.
He doesn't have Predator, otherwise for sure he'd be Predatoring for a 5-man dive. A little bit harder when you electrocute Vladimir.
Kai'Sa's gun is actually a little bit loud. If you zoom in next to Kai'Sa, it's actually surprisingly loud.
Well, the third and final inhibitor turret goes down, and we're just kind of waiting for everyone to press their buttons on the side of Jin.
Yeah. Well, Teddy thinking about it, you can tell he really wants to. It's that moment in the game where you're like, well, I'm 6-0. Maybe we can just dive the turrets, the Nexus turrets, and win the game. But it is professional play. You can see how much damage even Vlad's auto attacks do with all the AP he's picked up. Waiting for the waves to come in. Maybe they will consider going for the end tier.
Minion wave in bottom top, pretty far away, so they are going to be delayed for now. A bit frustrating if you want to make this as bloodless as possible, but we want blood. We are very much looking for a fight, some people to pop up and explode. Jin Air showing remarkable restraint, all things considered. Teddy needs his flashback to be the one to initiate.
Yeah.
And we did learn from recent Jin Air series that no one else wants to initiate.
Everybody else is a little bit scared, you know. Nice wave clear on the side of MVP. They do have Zoe, Kai'Sa, even the Mundo to step forward and not take damage and just try to kill it. But here comes the Cannon Barrage. They want to end the game here. As the double super minions coming in, the Hemoplague onto 4 in the back line. Yondu is going to die in the pool. And now they want the Mundo. Can they finally kill him? The answer is absolutely not, as the double kill and the Nexus comes in. Jin Air dominate in game number 1.
Jin Air got the pick and ban bonanza when it comes to bottom teams. Get the easy to execute global comp, press all their buttons in, and we thought, okay, MVP, you know what you left up. What are you going to have to show for yourselves? It didn't matter very clearly in this game. MVP weren't able to punish at any point when the cooldowns were down. And for Jin Air, he pressed 3 ultimates, you're going to kill at least one person, and from there, slow and steady, won the race.
Yeah, you know, they delayed it a little bit, tried to kill Mundo, I swear, about 4 or 5 times. But once they realized that they could not, they just switched on to other targets. Didn't matter how many Zonias, how many defensive items you had. Side of MVP don't even look too disappointed. It almost feels like they know what they did wrong. They're like, oh, we kind of messed up the draft here. We got behind in the early game because of Jin Air playing out the draft well. And now we just got to go back to the drawing board for game 2.
Definitely should add to those pages of the novel we saw from the coach, ban Nocturne and Orshin.
Yeah, or take one, you know. Either way, guys, we'll have a quick break before we do go into game number 2.